Wipe that sleepy dust out of your eyes, Constitution vet.
I can't. I'm enjoying a nice, quiet morning. It's great.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the post Thanksgiving Friday morning chat session. Are you at home or are you away
Actually,
visiting
no. I'm in a new
somebody?
place. I'm dog sitting again. I have a lovely golden doodle passed out next to me here. Let me get my camera here. Right there he is.
There's our
There's
first first
Duncan.
our first dog, our first mascot on the network, a
Yeah,
golden doodle.
he's passed out. How
Okay,
are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I had you know a delicious meal with family yesterday. Do you have family on Thanksgiving? Do you have a bunch of extended? Do you go somewhere? People come to you. How does this work?
It's varied each year. But this year my wife and I have chosen to stay home, and all family have been home locals. That's been nice. Uh, we did her family yesterday, and we're doing my family later this evening.
Got it.
So until then, we're just being lazy, doing nothing.
Yeah, as you are obligated to do. Do nothing. Be relaxed. Okay, so our topic: Elon Musk tweaks Twitter. And did you read the show prep?
I did, yeah, and he's doing way more than I thought he actually was doing. Because I'm not on Twitter, but I catch little snippets of what's going on through the channels that I follow.
All right, so I'm going to task you with informing me of what he's doing. If I mean, you could even read it out or just fill us in on all the things. Like as you said, he's doing more than you anticipated. And hello, good morning. Here I'm gonna play producer. Oops. Good morning, Michael and Ben. That is a big dog. Golden doodles are pretty dogs. Yes, they are. They are pretty dogs. I have a
Yeah,
friend.
sure. I can go down the list. Let's see here. So here are the key points. Number one, as we all know,
Hold on. Before you do that, I'll have all of you know that I joined Twitter. Right, so I do now have a Twitter account. It's Sweet Home Maricopa with the home is abbreviated, so Sweet Home Maricopa on Twitter. There, you can follow me or whatever. I it's going to take me a while to get into to incorporating that into my daily routine because
Mhm.
that being a busy person and I give a lot of my time here to YouTube, but Twitter is it's kind of the elephant in the room, if you will. It's the public square that is now being healed, I guess, right? The public square is going through a healing, a surgery, removing some cancerous growths. And it feels like it's trying to, it feels like once you do that, once you prune and trim and cut the fat, cut the malignancies, the thing is possibly, likely, very likely going to thrive like never before. So that's my rationale. I'm like, yeah, I should probably be over there. That's the public square. This is part of the public square as well, but that's one of the big branches on it, right? All right. Now tell me what's he doing? He
So
brought Trump
basically,
back.
obviously, as you just mentioned, he is trimming the fat. He is basically telling people, listen, if you can't come into work, you're done. If you have to work from home, you have to have a good reason. Okay. Um, he recently was going through the literal closets and found a bunch of shirts
Oh yeah.
that said "Stay woke," and he just blasted that. And of course, the left is losing their minds over all this. He was like, "Look, this is a company that has been in the tank for a long time. This has
Yeah.
been wasting millions of dollars, and you take so
Bleeding.
much pride in being woke."
Yeah. Well, they're building Twitter back better. Thank you, Curtis Brown.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. So, but he's doing more than just trimming the fat, as I've learned recently. So he is. I had no idea that Twitter was doing this, but Twitter apparently was not. How can I say this? Twitter was not having any restrictions on human trafficking. Twitter had no restrictions or anything that was going after people who were doing these horrible things to adults and kids. Okay. I don't want to say the full works. I know this is obviously YouTube, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Elon Musk has discovered that Twitter has been doing some pretty horrible things involving kids, and so he's going directly against that and bringing the people who instituted those things, you know, to justice, so to speak. Um,
On this note, because I do want to spend, this is very important to me. It's one of the most important things
yeah.
to me, like the innocence, right? The innocence, like Jesus said, suffer the little children to come to me, right? We should all be like little children. It's like we need to, his angels like are defending the little children. And not just the little children, but those who are the weak and those who are, without power to defend themselves or stand for themselves. And so when Elon, it must have been, even for a guy like him who's not a Christian, I don't really know what his metaphysic is, but to go behind the veil and to see all that's really there, it must have just been like disgusting and grieving and validating for him to realize he is now in the position to do right, to do right by them. Like none of this should ever be tolerated. And that is, it's like your secularist has the person who's secular in mind doesn't have a moral foundation in Christ, doesn't have a leg to stand on as to why you should not allow certain types of content, you have no moral justification to argue against it, but he's in that position and he's going to do it anyway because we all have this innate understanding until our consciences are completely seared. We have this innate understanding of right and wrong, and that the most innocent should not be abused and exploited and sold. And anyway, so sorry.
Well, one thing
really good news.
One thing that he did too, he originally apparently created a board of moderators to, again, help moderate the content. And I remember a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of conservatives, just jump on the bandwagon and said, "Oh, he's doing the same bad thing that Arwag Pagarwag, whatever the guy's name, the former CEO, was doing." But he recently disbanded that board because he realized they weren't doing their job effectively at all. And so now, as we've seen, Elon Musk is going back to the basics. He's going back to creating these polls, asking the people, hey, what are your thoughts on these things? And letting the people in the town square decide how things should be run. And what's interesting is, for so long, Twitter has been managed by this board. And look what has happened. It's gone to hell. And so now Elon Musk is like, fine, getting rid of the board. I'm in sole control of it now. I'm going to ask the people, what are your thoughts on these things? Should I reinstate this person? Should I not? What are y'all's thoughts on this culture climate? And just being able to give the voice back to the people, I think, is the biggest step in the right direction. But going back to the fundamental point, who is in charge of determining what can and can't be said in the town square? That's what it boils down to. Because there are things that are against the law to talk about, to showcase, to support, such as human trafficking. We have actual laws against those things. Okay. But there are no laws saying, oh, you can't talk about these political views, or you can't talk about supporting this person. No, there was no law against that. It was just you speaking your conservative views went against the majority previously. That went against the narrative, and Twitter did not like that at all.
Yeah, it's ideology trumping principle.
And so now Elon Musk is going back to the basics. Again, keeping this a free, open town square for free speech, while at the same time combating actual law violations. And so he's also he's going up against the swamp when it comes to, he's publicly admonishing news outlets for promoting corrupt businesses, a lot of shady deals involving Ukraine and the DNC. Like, he's just keeping everyone accountable, not just the average American citizen. And so, yeah, I'm very interested to see how this pans out. So far, it's going well, and we can see how well how thankful I think people are for God using a guy like Elon Musk to open up this town square, this global town square, not just American.
Yeah. Well, Curtis Brown is asking the question, right, that I've been wondering. Curtis has mentioned, if you're following along in the comment section, he's also mentioned Facebook. Have you seen Mark Zuckerberg lately? And then he said, YouTube is next. I've been echoing that sentiment because it seems like, I don't know, this is just my observation. It seems like Zuckerberg was trying to get ahead of something by going on Joe Rogan and acknowledging that the FBI came to him about misinformation and the Hunter Biden laptop, et cetera, et cetera. And we all know that it was Twitter that took the lead in censoring the Hunter Biden laptop, right? It was October of 2 years ago that news broke, right? Tony Bobulinski was interviewed by Tucker Carlson, and the laptop, was supposed to be the October surprise for 2020. And by Twitter deleting the New York Post, because it was the New York Post that broke the story, and Twitter deleted the New York Post's account because of it and suppressed it, and Facebook followed suit. And Zuckerberg was trying to make the case that, like, what they said, more disinformation they think was coming from Russia was coming out, and they weren't specific. And Zuckerberg was kind of dancing around it, but we know he was talking about this. But it was kind of trying to get ahead of it, especially knowing that, like, at his level, Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are on a similar level, right? I mean, Zuckerberg's like now down here, right? He's like somewhere, but he's in that realm of, power brokers, big tech power brokers. And with Elon Musk coming in and seeing all of the complicity of the mainstream media and big tech and the government, right? It's this cabal that has arrayed itself against the good people of this nation, essentially. Right? Good people that just want to have a free and open. You should be able to argue and fight and dispute with anybody about just about anything publicly. And that has not been allowed. And that's how totalitarian regimes govern. They cannot defend their views, so they shut them all down. And I feel like it's coming to Facebook and YouTube. I think Elon is setting a standard that not just that they will willingly follow, but they're going to have to, because it's going to be exposed in one tech platform, and then it'll open up all these other people who are complicit in doing the exact same thing.
Right. Well, and this goes back to that town square metaphor. Who's in charge of managing the communication, that discussion? Is it the few elite in charge, or is it the people? If someone posts something that's obviously not accurate, let the people work that out. Let them get into debates and arguments, and let them come to either a common understanding or agree to disagree. That's it. The only thing that management should do is just ensure that no laws are being violated, and ensure that the actual experience on that town square is efficient and open to everyone. But that's it. The actual talk, the discussion, is by the people, through the people. But the problem is, as you mentioned, it hasn't always been like that.
Yeah.
But now we are getting to that point. It is beautiful to see.
I got a question. Are you on Truth Social?
I am not. I think I made an account, but I just haven't really been on it. I've kept my big tech. Well, I shouldn't say big tech. I've kept my virtual town square intake to YouTube at the moment, but I am trying to expand to other platforms.
We only have so much bandwidth, right? Only so many hours in a day
And I'm
to
a full-time teacher. I don't
to
have a
consume.
lot of time
And
on my hands.
well, I also am not yet on Truth Social, and well, I don't know if we have any official. I think maybe This Way Network may have an account there, but I personally haven't. I have never even been on it yet, and I get these questions in the comment section on Sweet Home Maricopa all the time. I
Mhm.
glance through them, and every now and then I'll hear either somebody will just ask, "Are you on Truth Social?" or people will
Mhm.
say, uh, "You're a poser because you're not on Truth Social," something to that effect, that you're not
Mhm.
sincere because you're not on Truth Social. And I'm like, well, number one, I'm not on anything. I'm not even on YouTube, really. If I
Right.
didn't have producer Gina helping me out behind the scenes, I could barely even be on YouTube. I'm a busy, busy guy. And
Yeah, I can imagine.
for me to do an hour of content before my workday every day, plus the videos I put on Sweet Home Maricopa, which take another at least an hour a day or more.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I got 3 kids and a project aside from my daily job that I'm working on. I was like, social media, yeah, I see its value, but I'm not going to be able to be on all these platforms until I'm able to afford a social media manager to do it for me, just like Trump,
Right.
just like those. They don't, like, Trump may tweet himself, or not anymore, but when he may have been doing it himself, but he's not doing it. I, I don't think he was doing it himself. He's like, hey, put this
Right.
out. Who knows? Who knows? But
Right.
there's just, they're important, and when you're a public figure, it's more important. And I'm not, I guess I'm a public figure because I have a small following on Sweet Home Maricopa, but
Mhm.
what I'm doing with my life may thrust me into the public eye even more prominently. And when that happens, I will need to be uh, active on multiple more social media platforms. And so, and then about Truth Social, it's like, I love it. I love that it's there. I love that, it's successful, but right now it's a bubble, right? It's a right. It's just, not extreme, but it's a
Right.
bubble. It's the in group that I'm already in. And
Mhm.
my goal is to reach those that are not on the in group. And so spending all my time on Truth Social would be a totally, at this point, a waste of time. I'd rather be here on YouTube, that's open, and then Twitter that
Mhm.
still has, so
Well, so I can definitely appreciate the value of Truth Social, and I'm so thankful that it like became an actual thing. That's
well, I want to
fantastic.
be on there. I want to get on there. And I want to be
Yeah.
involved. But
Um,
it's time. Yeah.
but even for people who are conservative and on the right side, it's like I don't want to be in an echo chamber for either side. I want to be in a place that is open to all viewpoints. And so, uh, I value it, and I definitely will dabble into it a little bit, but I definitely want to keep my portfolio of sorts diverse. I want to be able to say, oh yeah, I get my perspective from all these viewpoints, not just from one. Because the danger is if you stick to just one, you become just as vulnerable as those who stick to just the left. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. In fact, I want to kind of pick up on that here in a second regarding what's going on in Arizona. But I want to respond to Gladys
Mm.
Kravitz Jr. Gladys Kravitz Jr. That's a nice moniker. That's Kravitz Jr. Just kind of rolls off the tongue. First thing communists do when they take over is control all communication, and that's that's why Elon Musk was just a shattering of the plan. Right? People, when you have the richest man in the world that's not in lockstep with the communist talking points, it's it's God, man. That's all I gotta say is, like, it is God. We live in a world that you cannot rule the whole world. There's no one group that's going to be able to rule the whole world. We've grown up through history. There have been great empires, right? The Roman Empire, the great, incredible 1,000-year reign, or whatever, however long it was, and it ruled the majority of the world. We don't live in that era anymore.
Mm.
It just can't happen, especially with technology. You cannot centralize power. And that's what they've been trying to do. And the irony is the tools that they want to use for it are accessible to everyone, right? You cannot control technology. You cannot get a monopoly on technology. There's enough open source coding, right? There's enough open source coding out there that anybody can build their own thing and reach whoever they want and whoever they can. And so I know a lot of people are afraid of one world government. Well, I believe there's one world government. It's Jesus's government. Right? He shall reign forever and ever, right? The kingdom, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, right? It's like, wait, what does that mean? We pray that. Everybody knows that prayer. What does that mean? Is that God saying, please, please, please pray so that my kingdom can reign on earth? Please, please. It's up to you guys to pray this prayer. It's up to you all to get this done, please, so that my kingdom can come. No, we're not praying that so that out of hope in this faint, distant reality. No, it's God telling us, this is what's coming. Align your hearts and minds with me. Right? This is what's coming. I'm giving you an advanced glimpse, and you pray this way, you will be praying in proper alignment with what's inevitable in the future. My kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. So, okay. So I wanted to, what you were talking about is being maybe trapped in a bubble if you just focus on certain news sources or certain platforms. You're ultra conservative or you're conservative, and Truth Social, right? And it's valuable to be there, to be in that community, but to be only in that community because, it's like being in the world but not of the world. You've got to be on the battle lines. Truth Social is not the battle lines. Truth Social is behind the battle line. The armies the side that we're on, but you got to be either on the front line or pushing that front line, right? You've got to be penetrating that front line. And so in Arizona, which is the front line in one regard, what's going on in Arizona is the front line.
Right.
And if you're just listening to the frustrated and disaffected voters of Arizona who are repeating, the 5-letter F, fraud, or, that this was, stolen, right? And that is it's a bubble. It's a very loud bubble. It's a bubble gets louder and louder. It got really loud after 2020, certainly, and now in 2022, it's really loud. But if you're just listening to that, you're not stepping back. You may be just going too far. And I just did a video. I haven't posted it yet on Sweet Home Maricopa. I just uploaded it, but asking that question, it's like, okay, this is a face-off, right? There's a face-off. It's in Arizona, and the old westerns were filmed in Arizona, and it's like two gunslingers. They're taking 10 paces, and they're about to turn. Right, they're about to turn and face each other. It's Carrie Lake and it's Katie Hobbs. Aye, 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 wah, wah, wah. And you hear the spurs, chink, 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 chink. And then they're going to turn on, I guess, November 28th. That's the deadline or something of certifying this election. So what's going to happen on the 28th? They're going to turn, and they're going to. I better not continue with the analogy because, we don't want to encourage violence. But it's a metaphor. One of them has actual bullets and one of them has blanks. That's kind of where I come to. One of them has bullets in their gun, one has blanks. And when I say which one has bullets, it's like it depends upon the lawyers, right? The lawyers have to determine whether to certify or not, whether to, if they're not going to certify, it means they're going to revote, right? And we don't know. We don't know which thing is going to happen yet. We don't. And if the lawyers in time, because lawyers tend to take a long time, but this is an urgent matter. So this has to be decided. Like, we're right there. They're about to turn, face each other, and we're about to see, is there going to be, is the Arizona midterm going to be redone on December 6th? Big question mark. I don't know. We hope. We hope, but we don't know how the lawyers are going to rule. and we have to accept the decision that they come up with, and then we'll still be in our separate bubbles. And some will say, see, it was a fair vote, and if they rule that way, and others will say, if they rule to revote, then there's a whole side that's going to be, this is how elections are stolen, right? You're going to hear all of that. It's not going to go away, but we're going to see, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's going to happen, and we just need to pray for our hearts to be prepared. And that's what I mean about bubbles. It's like, be ready for either one.
Well,
I don't know what to
it
say.
obviously is good for us to prepare and discuss and pray. At the end of the day, God's in charge.
Right.
Doesn't matter what, I mean, it matters what happens, but it kind of doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, God's in charge, and whatever does happen is because God ordained it so.
I'm curious, who is it that is going to make this decision, right? Is it the Attorney General of the state of Arizona? Because that's the highest lawyer, right? That's the ultimate decision. That's when they are suing each other. There's been lawsuits filed.
He's the highest lawyer, but remember, the highest branch in that realm would be the Arizona Supreme Court. It would be the judicial branch in Arizona, the judges. Lawyers can argue all they want. Right. It's the judge that makes the ultimate decision.
That's right.
So we'll see.
So it's the lawyers that have to go to the judges. Like they have to present the case, and then the judge, when there's at least one judge that makes the final decision. Like if it's, I don't know how many judges are on the Arizona Supreme Court, but it'll have to be, if it's a tie, there's got to be a tie-breaking vote or whatever. It's
so really the best, in my eyes, the best prayer you can make is, pray that God can give peace of mind to the judges to make the right decision, whatever that might be.
Right. Not to be politically swayed.
Yeah.
Right. Pray that the judge would not be politically swayed.
And they can adhere to the Arizona Constitution. Yeah. And then, of course, the U.S. Constitution.
There you go. And whatever, if the case is made that this is impossible to certify, the recourse is to do it again, I guess.
Right.
All right. Man. All right. Well, Elon, and I think, man, why didn't Elon close this deal with Twitter sooner, and for Twitter to be like, you think, prior to the election, more of this information coming out and more of the suppression of conservative voices. It just happens when it happens. God is in control. It's got his timeline. And just like the 2020 election, saying if Trump had won, we wouldn't have seen all this corruption. We wouldn't have seen as much of the corruption. So maybe this is another case. If Carrie Lake had just outright won, we wouldn't have gone through this process that we need to go through.
Right. Exactly.
Man, God's really putting us through the ringer, isn't he?
Good.
Yeah, right.
That could be.
Man. All right, we got about a little over a minute. So what are you about? Like you have school next week? Are you back on?
Yep, back on school for the next 2 weeks, and then I'll have Christmas break.
And Christmas break for you starts
2 weeks from now. So
you got 2 weeks, and then you're back, and then you're off again.
Yeah. Whatever that day is.
I get a rare, I got a regular job, but we do get Thanksgiving and today off, and then I get 1 day or 2 days for Christmas off, and then a day for New Year's. But I love it when they call me in on, if I'm on call. This happened to me 1 year where they called me in on New Year's Day. And like, it was like somebody died, like a famous person died. I mean, the show I work on, it's Celebrity Gossip News, TV version. And if somebody dies, they call me in. So they call me in, and I don't know if it was a death or not, but I got paid for 16 hours of work for doing 1 hour of work. So yeah, I'll interrupt my New Year's Day activities if I can go in and work for 1 hour and get paid for 2 full days. So not that I'm hoping anybody dies and they call me in. I'm just saying. I'm flexible. All right. We're out of time. Good to see you.
You too, boss.
All right. Talk to you next week.
Take care.
Bye everybody. Guys.